And hello, Anna. Are you here? Hi, nice to see
Hello,
you again.
hello.
Hello, hello.
So you are turning inbox play engagement into revenue. You don't believe that opens and clicks are enough?
Well, I will talk about this in this session, so stay tuned. I'm not gonna tell the answer right now.
All right. Can't hear.
So, and Anna's topic will be maximum results, minimum resources. So, and an interesting thing that it's we will hear the B2C creativity uh, in B2B marketers. Exactly what we heard about the system and how it must be done and how long actually the process is. So I really hope now we will get the golden eggs how to do it like tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. Not in 9 months.
Oh no no
Tomorrow.
no no tomorrow.
For sure, yes. And it will be relevant even for B2C folks as well. So if you work in e-commerce, stay tuned.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
So, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I think this is my second time presenting at the Masters of Email Marketing. And yes, my session will be how to basically, with a small team, reach big results and how to use the tips and tricks that helped us in B2C marketing to use it in B2B as well. But the first thing first, let's get to know each other. My name is Anna Levitin. I work in the marketing for a lot of years, but in the last 9 years, I've been solely focusing on email marketing and life cycle, marketing operation. And I have also experience working in B2B, B2C. So it's SaaS, travel companies, fintech, variety of different companies. And I like to do this switch. Yes, and as every speaker on this webinar, we are vivid evidence that email is far from being dead. So what we're gonna talk today about? Of course, a little bit about KPIs and attribution. I know it's a data piece, it's sometimes boring, but we as a marketers not always can trust our guts. Yes, we need the numbers for that. And the spoiler, unfortunately, I don't have a silver bullet for attribution challenges, but at least I will tell you how I handle it in the various companies I worked for. Then the piece about personalization and emotional triggers, and this is where I'm gonna share 6 types of emotional triggers that can be used in B2B, and again they will be relevant for B2C as well. And the last part, the most practical and embarrassing. Practical is because I will share tips on workflows, AIs, some operational tips, and I'm not going to talk about the fancy project with AI, just really small tiny changes that helped me. This is the practical part. Embarrassing is because majority of these things, they are based on my own mistakes, so I will tell you what went actually wrong. So B2C, B2B. We oftentimes think that B2C sells to feeling, right? Last minute sale, last 24 hours, out of stock. And B2B is more boring, right? And sells to the logic. So this is the default, but I'm really glad seeing that lately this try to change a little bit, and I see a lot of B2B companies, they introduce some more interesting things in B2B emails. Why we need to do this? Because at the end of the day, right, it's always human to human. And when I always keep this setting in mind, right? That I'm not communicating, even if I'm sending email to only corporate domains, right? And not to free, to Gmail, Yahoo. I always communicate human to human. And I keep this in mind when I talk about KPIs, when I talk about attribution and other measurable aspects of email. So few words about KPIs. What KPIs we should measure. And by the way, feel free in the comment section to add what KPIs do you measure But we are all like email marketers here. We are all professionals, and I know that we know the basic metrics, but let me quickly go through them. I like to separate 3 different categories. So the first one is soft metrics. It's open rate, click rate, and the small tip, not always the managerial level, they know the difference between click-through rate, and the numbers are different, right? And they can lie sometimes. And actually, this is the reason I call it soft, right? Because we can't really trust open rate, but we can trust other metrics that I will talk just in a few minutes. Hard or business metrics, right? That's all about revenue, conversion, or whatever conversion you have in mind, right? It could be purchase, it could be registration for webinar, demo, MQL, SQL, you name it. And the last one, negative, even though I'm a very positive person and we should always stay like this, but we need to sometimes measure the negative metrics: unsubscribe, spam complaint, and bounce rate. That all about like around the deliverability. Now I want to talk a little bit about the metrics that we can measure beyond the open rate. And I'm introducing these metrics not to make our life more difficult, right? Because I know that in email marketing, oftentimes we are like one man band, one woman band, and we think, oh my God, like these are extra metrics that I need to measure. No, not because of this, but this is something that would be like, let's say, more reliable than the open rate, right? Or show you the trend, or show you the real business metrics that, down the funnel. So the first one is open to unsubscribe. This basically shows the gap between the curiosity and value. So for example, if the subject line is interesting and the users open it, but then they unsubscribe, it means that something like the content didn't work, or the targeting didn't work, or maybe just they had different expectation of this subject line. Maybe you promised something like e-commerce brands sometimes do like up to 60%, and then everything is like around 20% discount. The next one is engagement over time. So shows the health of your list, and it shows how the consistently subscribers interact with email. Next one is inactive rate, the percentage of subscribers that are not engaged with your emails in a certain period of time. And here is important to say that like the difference between number 2, between the engagement and inactive. So engagement shows how people interact with email right now, or within like the 30, 60, 60 day, 90 days period. And inactive rates shows how many subscribers are drifting away, right? How many subscribers basically leaving, if I may say it, leaving your database. They are not respond anymore. Why it's different? Because engagement, for example, you can still have a good engagement rate that will show you like the high percentage, maybe because of new subscribers, maybe because of certain segmentation that you did, and the period that you measured, while inactive rate might decline. So you have, when you take 30 days, you can see that the engagement rate is really good, but then the inactive rate, like you are losing a big chunk of your database. So in nutshell, engagement tells you how your subscribers are doing today, and inactive rate sort of shows you the potential, what underneath, what are the problems that you might face in the next few months. Number 4 is a time to first action. So it shows how message is clear and how users understand it. So for example, when I worked for Powtoon is a visual communication platform, helps to create presentations and videos. So we had our onboarding based on the meaningful actions. So like actions that, for example, the user went to the studio, the user started to create a video, finished create a video, uploaded it, like exported it. So the entire onboarding that we had for users was based on these meaningful actions. Of course, there was a certain timeline, but it's not like we had only 3 weeks onboarding and that's it. No, if it takes some user more time to reach a certain action. So for them, onboarding was like few months instead of, let's say, 3 weeks. But tricky thing here, we need to remember that besides of emails, we also have usually pop-ups, we have walkthrough, we have in-app notifications. So sometimes it's talking about attribution, sometimes it's difficult to attribute success and reaching this action to email. So think ahead how you will measure it. Maybe the landing on the certain page would be enough, would be like the first action that you will trust. And the last thing is, it's not really a KPI, but it's something that I really recommend to measure. It's a source of new subscribers, where they are coming from. I worked for the company Doorloop also. It's property management, is B2B, clear SaaS. And we spend a lot on the paid media, especially Google. And I was working very close with a paid media company because every time, for example, they used a certain like experiment, a special keywords, and they run a campaign, I saw it in my soft metrics. Of course, for example, brand campaigns, they always get the higher open rate. The subscribers that are coming from this campaign, they are more engaged with these emails. The conversion is better. But if it's like a tiny small keywords that decided, like the team decided to run a test and spend quite a lot on this, I will, like, for the entire flow, like for the entire week or a few weeks, depends on how long it takes, I will see a really low metrics, unfortunately. So now, yes, these 5 metrics. So my point is, measure what is important, what is beneficial for your business, what really moves the needle. I'm not against soft metrics, right? But it's like it should be apples to apples, right? If you measure open rate, measure the open rate for transactional emails, for exactly the same emails like a month ago or last quarter. Don't try to measure and measure and compete with benchmarks. Honestly, like, I'm not a big fan of benchmarks at all. Again, you should measure it like apples to apples within your company. So measure this even if you don't have a perfect tracking, perfect data. And talking about the data and tracking, I want to talk a little bit, few words about attribution. And I know this session is not about data, and I promise you this is like the last part, talking about this boring thing. And I'm sure we all know about attribution, like the types, but let me tell you, like, I like to divide it to the 6 different segments. The first one is a last touch attribution. It's when the last touch gets like all the credits for conversion. The next one is the same, but for the first touch. Linear attribution, when is the credits is given equally to each touch point within the journey. Position-based attribution, it means that it's split evenly between first and last touch customer points. Time decay, it's when it's closer to the conversion, so this touch point gets more credit. And for B2B marketers here, you always that this one SDR call that were made just before the conversion, this what moved the needle. And it doesn't matter that you send the entire flow of emails to them. And the last one is data-driven. If it's when the credit is given on how likely this specific touch point influenced the conversion. So this is the type of multi-touch attribution. And for me personally, this is the type that should be used for email. But Unfortunately, it's not that easy to set up, and not all of us have like the massive data team to work with this. And also the email tasks, they not always get a high enough priority within the scope of work. So yeah, but at least this is something like I would recommend to use. So at this point, we talked about basic KPIs, we talk about like extra KPIs, attribution, how to measure this, in the ideal world, but how to deal with that when it's not an ideal world. And as I said, you don't have everything working correctly. So I would share with you like few things that I measured in the beginning when we didn't have everything in pieces. So the first thing is add UTMs to all your links you use in emails, to all the everything, and try to measure it in the all touch attribution. So it depends on your CRM. You probably will see the line with like, I don't know, blog, paid media, and emails as well. So yes, it won't necessarily say that this user converted because of the email, but at least you will be able to say, oh, it was influenced. Like, I know that this user clicked on the email. So this is number one. The next one is capture timestamps for last touch attribution, for last touches, sorry. And I mean, ideally it's to save the timestamp for all touch points, right? Because in this case, you will be able to correlate it with the time then email was sent. So for example, for me, it was like this. If I know that the user scheduled the demo just within like a certain time period when I send email, and even if they didn't click on email, right, if I don't see the UTMs in all touch attribution, I still can correlate it, and I can say that it was influenced by email. Maybe they seen it in their inbox, they didn't click, but they seen the sender name. And the last one, of course, it's to combine multiple data points. We all use so many different platforms, CRM, analytical platforms. Sometimes it's few analytical platforms from different departments. Of course, it's nice to have everything in HubSpot or whatever ESP you use. But oftentimes, even within one company, like the sales and data team and marketing use different platforms. So I promised you that this was the last boring slide about the data, and now we are moving to personalization and emotional triggers. So we all know, high first name or how to use the company name, but there are a few really basic personalization that not every company uses, unfortunately. And I'm talking about first language. I looked at the chat and I looked at the list of the speakers, and even like on this webinar we have, I think, about 10 different languages, right? But yet all the sessions that are in English. But for example, I would like to have some session in my mother tongue, and I know that it's difficult to translate. Like for small brand, it's difficult to translate the entire automations to a language. And if you have your product only in English, of course, it doesn't work. But I'm talking about more like a big brands that don't allow user to choose another language. This is the basic personalization. The next one is accessibility. This is must. No comments here. I would personally appreciate more if I can have like a proper contrast between the copy and the background, rather than see hi Anna, right? So see my name. And the last one is preferences and opportunity to unsubscribe. And of course, users, subscribers, they shouldn't be reaching out for the unsubscribe link like a hidden gem. It should be very visible and easy. So these are the three basic personalization. Even we oftentimes, I think, I didn't think about this as a part of personalization. It was like just maybe like a features or something else. So now a few words about personalization versus customization. And I had recent conversation with Jean Jennings, also well known in email field, and I like how she explained it. So personalization is one-to-one and customization is one-to-many. So in another word, personalization is when the entire database receive different emails, right? You have like, I don't know, 60,000 subscribers, each of them receive different high first name. While customization is based on the certain group, based on the segment. Here, for example, my advice, again, from my time working in Doorloop, that you don't need to create, let's say, a segment for all, for each job titles, because sometimes, and we are starting already the part where I'm talking about my mistakes, embarrassing mistakes. Sometimes, I start to work on the automation on the flow and think that we need like to create 6 different workflows based on the job title. But then I see that one job title, okay, it might be big chunk like in our database, but they are not really converting down the funnel. And the same, for example, challenge we had at Powtoon. We had a big group of our database from the LATAM region, from Latin America, engaged, very like coming to webinars, but they didn't really bring us revenue. So yeah, while it's a good practice to personalize for them, to customize emails for them, but we need to always focus on the business metrics. So now my favorite part of the presentation, and yeah, I think we have like about 10 minutes left, about emotional triggers, 6 emotional triggers in B2B. And as I said, it's also relevant for B2C. For each trigger, I will say a few words. I will talk about like the trigger itself, the format, and message. And the format is either will be delivered by email or inside the email itself. So let's start. The first one is efficiency and relief. It's when the user will see your email, right, or will see the page, like the guide you provided, and it will fill them like it makes my life easier. And as a format, I suggest the ROI calculator. So it depends on the audience that you target. For example, if you target the hands-on people, they are not necessarily budget holders. So it's not about saving money, it's about saving hours, saving time. Of course, if you target C-level people, so it's more about saving money. The next one is about control and confidence. I want to have a clarity, I want to have understanding, and I want to know that everything is under control, and I have an understanding of everything. So it's great for lead generation, for example. This one you might also have seen on the social media, like with the Facebook quizzes. The next one is professional pride and career growth. I want to be valuable, I want to be competent, I want to look professional. And so it's certification, different badges, even master courses, for power users, or also the case studies that feature the specific role. So you can see how other marketing managers, property managers, streamline their processes. Academy, for example, is a good idea if you can create a lot of content, video or blog post, and build the academy. It's a perfect one. They get a certificate, share it on LinkedIn. The next one is security and risk reduction. So I want to make sure that I don't make any mistake, because I, as a representative of the company, right, I don't want to have any problems. So that's why I recommend the format of the guide, 7 common mistakes, or the testimonials, just to see just to make sure that it's safe to use, for example, this solution. So I see that another person with a similar job title with a similar company used it. Oh, so it may be safe for me. For example, at Doorloop, we always used the testimonials. We customize the testimonials per specific like industry and job role, because, for example, if user sees the same like property manager with similar number of units, the trust is higher, and if they're using like the same type of property, commercial, residential, probably the trust will be higher. So the next one is growth and impact. We need to have a clear timeline. We need to grow without chaos, and it's also important for example, me as a hands-on person to show this to manager, to show the expectation and timeline, to say, okay, this is where we're going to be within 3 months, within 6 months. So it's like when you can actually walk through what you prepared, like for the next for your strategy. And the last one, it's status and recognition. We always like to be like ahead and try new things. I mean, I'm guilty, honestly. I always request a beta. I always request early access from the suppliers I use. The question is how often I actually use this, because sometimes I don't really have time. But if I'm given this opportunity, like I jump, into this, because I want to be on the top. I want to know what's going on. So one more slide for this section, and we will go to the last section about like workflows and APIs. Just my recommendation, I'm not affiliated, the great book, Using Behavioral Science in Marketing by Nancy Harhart. If you haven't read it, I strongly recommend. So now about part about AI and workflows. And again, this is not something a fancy project. These are the small things that really moved the needle for me. But before we talk about this, some stats, right? These are something like the recent stat that I've seen, that 64% of marketers using AI in email marketing. And the question is like, how we use it, because I started to use it as just content and maybe some segmentation help, and then combine it with automation and started to use it in a more sophisticated way. So I'm going to share with you a few examples. And by the way, feel free to drop in the chat how you use AI, or if you think that AI is overrated. So yeah, talking about the being overrated, I'm not like against the AI, or I'm not against the new like solutions, but before you want to onboard a new tool, talk to your ESP provider, talk to your CRM provider, to any provider to use, because they might be working on the solution, right? And you can join the beta. Because for me, working like in a mid-sized companies, it was very difficult to onboard the new tool, to get a permission, to get a budget. So, and also it takes a lot of your time from your team. And if you have like a really 2 people on your team, that's pretty challenging. So a few things. The feature that majority of ESPs already have, it's like send time optimization. It's not even AI, right? But what I did, like with AI joining our world, I had a conversation with the ESP provider, like how you guys filter opens with bots, how you do this, like against the security systems like Barracuda, because probably it's more evolved now. So this is something just to test and to understand how nowadays ESP is separated. The second one, it's wow, that bothers me the most, honestly. It's automated no reply addresses, and this is something we actually used at Powtoon. I'm talking about when you want to respond to a brand and they use no reply, saying we are unable to receive emails to this address. This is such bad practice. So what we did at Powtoon, we automated. So when a user answered, so of course it was reply address, they answered this email, and based on automation and basic like AI, we generated like responses in like regular cases. For example, if it was unsubscribe, if it was like a support ticket, and also for B2B customers, if we see that the lead score is higher, so we'll get like higher priority within support or within like AE if it's a paid customer versus unpaid customer. So it's really doable. And the next thing is AI generated test variations. So there are already like a lot of solutions out there in the market. So it basically adds on your ESP platform. And let's say, for example, you want to test 3 job roles and for four different segments. So it's like 3 multiple 4, 12. So this is not like 12 ideas that you need to come up. This is like automatically you will get and you can approve, and this is just within one click. The challenge here, again, the size of the database. If you see that one of the segments is really small, so you won't probably receive the meaningful results very fast. The next one is about like building emails. I'm not HTML professional myself. I know very basic HTML, but I know there are also like few solutions that help to build and to code emails properly. And the last one is the example that we did in Powtoon, in Doorloop also, like throw all the demo information, all script, not a script, sorry, translation to the ChatGPT and get the insights and stream it to the relevant Slack channels. So few words now about workflows. So what means like what workflow actually mean, right? I like to separate it for different segments, and we will go into details about them. So first, it's a clarity before execution. When it's everything clear, like before I start to work, this is how it makes the work faster. Reusable systems that you can use next time. Collaboration without any frictions in ideal world again, and something that you can repeat and you don't need to manually do every time. So for me, this is about like lean email workflow. And a few examples. I strongly recommend to use like a snippets and modular systems, especially now when we are already, we are 2026, and I still see in the footer 2025, sometimes it's even 2024. So clearly, like it would be so easy if there is just a coded, like for example, in second bullet, you can see, right, how you can like, depends on your ESP, like to code the year, or at least to change in a snippet or in a like modular, and it will be changed for all emails. Another tip is like also there are a solution where you design, for example, in Figma, and then transfer it to ESP. And the good thing that all the feedback you get in a Figma, so everyone can comment there, like design folks, content, C-level, and then you don't need to redo your like HTML inside ESP again and again. Approval clarity. The earlier you will define the processes, the better it will be, and you can avoid any like legal challenges and any delays, because oftentimes what I see that we email marketers, we can work really fast, but then we need to wait like for another week for the approval. And the last one is UTM and naming convention. And I think Fernando, when he talked about A/B testing, he touched upon this. So even if you don't plan to do like the A/B test now, make sure that the UTM convention like suitable for future UTM test. And the naming convention, if you name like the campaign and the flow, so everyone can understand that everyone on the team and like in the product team and other teams as well. So now we are moving to the creativity, and I would consider myself as a creative person, but yet I think like we all need a sort of system when we talk about creativity. So also here a few things that a few examples that we use. The first one, for example, is something that we did for Powtoon. We had a lot of webinars, and it brought us a lot of leads on B2B side, and on B2C side converted free users to the paid users. So when in our registration form, we had a non-mandatory field, what is your challenge with, and then the topic of webinar. So what is your challenge with email marketing? And surprisingly, we got a lot of responses from the users. So what we did, we pull these to the AI, like usually, it's there like three main topics, three main challenges. And then we use verbatim, like word to word, exactly the phrases that our customers using. So I send the first invitation, for example, 4 weeks in advance to the small group, get this insight, and then for the all future invitation to the webinar, for all social media paid campaigns, we use that wording, and it significantly increased the open rate. The next, it's about testing with intention. It's not just test because we need to show something to managers. It should be very structured and documented, and also documented for the time when like you maybe will leave the company. And I talked about this about analyzing in the context. So when you don't compare yourself to benchmarks from completely different industry, or like B2B benchmarks. B2B is so big, so it's difficult. And just like having, proper reporting dashboards and everything that can help you to have a clear understanding and having it fast. So my takeaways. Just 1 second. So the takeaways are that, first of all, the open rate is not a strategy, and there are metrics that might show the results much, much better. As I said, open to unsubscribe, whatever metrics is working for you. I strongly recommend you to brainstorm with the folks, with the colleagues, to understand, also with the sales team. The second one is logic explains. Actually, it doesn't matter B2C or B2B. We always go with our feelings, right? And we always need to think that we communicate human to human in the wording, in the design, in something that we want to use in email. Segment level customization beats full personalization. First of all, full personalization is very difficult, right? And oftentimes we don't have enough manpower to do this. So start from the segments that have that big enough and convert better enough, right? And start with these segments and then maybe move to a personalization. And creativity needs structure, workflow, save energy, AI support. So I like all these elements: creativity, workflow, and AI. I think they should work all together, and I hope I gave a few examples on how it can work. So thank you so much. I'm a little bit over time. I appreciate any questions. Feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn and continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Very insightful presentation. Thank you very much. We have a few minutes for questions. I have a question, especially in B2B. How do you ensure data quality? We have heard that about, I don't know, up to 20-25% of email addresses or any data that is tied to the address, like profile data, can go bad over a year. Do you have some kind of automated cleanups, or do you do this like by hand, or because this what you showed us, this needs, I think, correct data to work.
So it's a great question one. So how to keep your list like using hygiene tools. So for example, at Doorloop, we had an API with one of the hygiene tools. So if, for example, we had a gated content, which I'm not against, like if it's if it's a good content, you can gate it and give an email, but make sure that a person with disposable email can't log in. So whenever users start to put like a disposable email, that says, oh, like, please use your real business emails. But I think what you ask about is also like, okay, if someone is going out of the business or not using anymore, so make sure that you have
auto clickers. Last presenter Eva told us that there's a lot of auto clickers in business to business, especially. So this decreases the quality of your data. You see the engagement, but actually
engagement is all the time 100%.
Yeah, but
like during the year.
This is actually this virus scanning tool that you are communicating with.
So I
figure it out somehow.
So there are solutions that can help you to see this, and also to check how each email is engaged, not only with your brand, but like how this email address engaged generally, like in the last 3 months. And if they only, let's say, engage with your brand, it means it's like bots, or not even bots. Maybe it's like a security system, like the challenge we had like at Powtoon, where we had like a lot of educational addresses. They use Barracuda, so all the educational emails, they had like 100% open rate.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you again for the presentation.